On the morning of December 14, 1969, 25-year-old Diane Maxwell left her apartment in Houston, Texas, just like any other day. She worked as a switchboard operator for Southwestern Bell and always left early enough to catch the bus to downtown. The morning air was crisp and calm as Diane walked through a neighborhood near her workplace. She had made this walk countless times before. But on this day, something went terribly wrong. Diane never made it to work. Hours passed and her colleagues began to worry. She had not called in sick. She was always punctual and dependable. A missing person report was filed and a search began, but there were few clues. No one had seen anything suspicious. Later that day, a maintenance worker was sent to a utility shack at an abandoned building site on the edge of downtown Houston. He entered the small concrete building and discovered a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Diane's body was found inside. Her hands had been bound with her own clothing. She had been raped and brutally murdered. The scene was horrifying. There were signs of a violent struggle, and it was clear Diane had fought for her life. There were no eyewitnesses. There was no surveillance footage. Forensic technology at the time was limited. The case immediately chilled the community. A young woman, in broad daylight, had been abducted on her way to work and killed in a place just blocks from the busy streets of downtown. Houston police launched a massive investigation, canvassing neighborhoods and checking on every known offender in the area. But no solid leads came in. No suspect emerged. The case quickly went cold. Diane's family was devastated. She had been engaged to be married and was described by friends and loved ones as kind, soft-spoken, and gentle. For over 3 decades, the file sat in the cold case unit, a painful reminder of a crime that had shocked the city and then faded from the headlines. But DNA would eventually bring the truth back to light. In 2003, the Houston Police Department launched a special cold case unit focused on solving unsolved homicides using newly available forensic tools. One of the cases they pulled from storage was Diane Maxwell's. The preserved evidence was sent to a lab for advanced DNA testing. A match came back. It was to a man named James Ray Davis, who was already in prison for unrelated crimes. Davis had a long criminal record, including previous offenses of kidnapping and sexual assault. At the time of Diane's murder in 1969, he had been out on parole. He had never been suspected in her case before. Investigators interviewed Davis in prison. At first, he denied everything. But as the DNA evidence was explained to him and as the pressure mounted, his story changed. In 2004, James Ray Davis finally confessed to the abduction, rape, and murder of Diane Maxwell. He told detectives he had seen her walking alone that morning and decided to follow her. He threatened her with a knife, forced her into the utility building, and committed the crime. He admitted it without emotion. There was no remorse. He even described details of the shack's layout and the clothing Diane wore, confirming information only the killer would have known. James Ray Davis was charged with capital murder and stood trial in 2005. The evidence was overwhelming, and the testimony from forensic experts sealed his fate. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. For Diane's family, it was a bittersweet moment. Justice had finally arrived. Her story is now remembered not only as a tragedy but as a symbol of hope that even the darkest secrets can be uncovered with time and determination.